All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to tonight's episode of Football Focus Weekly. This is the Charlotte Show. As we've promoted it, it's typically the biggest show of the year in terms of viewers, the most screenshotted show because of opinions, and the most active show because of so many comments that say typically that I don't know what I'm talking about. So settling in, relaxing. As you see the rundown on the screen here, we're going to start with the private and charter school football analysis in a couple minutes. Then we'll dive deep into Charlotte. We'll go into the SOMEC 4A conference at 7:50, the Southwestern 4A at 8:30, the Queen City conference at 9:10, and then we'll finish it up around 10 o'clock with Slime Time, hosted by Kenneth the Engine McClamrock. I've got a ton of players here. Some you'll see on the screen. Some are on a supplemental list that I couldn't fit 100 players into the PowerPoint, or we have a 30-screen PowerPoint. So just sit back and relax. Of course, comment away if we forget someone or you feel like there's somebody that should be recognized from the player standpoint. And then, of course, we do have predictions for each of those leagues listed there. So enjoy it. We got a comment already. Don't worry, Nikisha. We're about to run the intro, so you hadn't missed anything yet. We'll run the intro, and we'll be right back, and we'll get started with private schools here on the Charlotte edition of Football Focus Weekly.
Has been never pass a Bojangles without stopping to get something to eat.
I'm sliming these adult league referees.
God, dog.
Well, dang, I mean, y'all just took my slime, because I was going to slime Coach Dillon. Because let me tell y'all about this cat.
Well, I think I got to go with sliming who's ever running these stupid robo-dollars and group callers.
Judging by the numbers, we have not had numbers this large at the start of a show, so a lot of people are excited, apparently. Feel free to comment using Facebook or YouTube. Twitter you can watch, but you cannot comment on Twitter, so Facebook and YouTube are your best ways of commenting on the show. Jason Bass has been excited since early this morning on Twitter. He said he was going to be here the whole 3 hours, so glad to see you once again, Jason. We appreciate that, man. The crew is here. I'll bring them on. Of course, we've got the engine.
What's up, man?
Man, I am ready to go. I told you right before this, I had to take a nap, get my energy up, and it is ready, and it is on blast.
You know what? Yes, you better turn your notifications off when the show ends, Pep, because your phone is going to be blowing up all night long.
Absolutely. I'm used to it, but it's all good, man. I appreciate it. Big Eye Shelby.
What's up, baby? Tonight's the night. Tonight's the night, man. I can't wait to get started, man.
Good to have you, brother. Good to have you. And then the most famous Friday Night Fowler.
What's happening, everybody? What's good with you? I'm ready to get some more insight on the big C, the Queen City, Charlotte, in the house tonight. Let's get it. Let's get it.
You know, I've enjoyed people interacting with you as we've shared your rankings for other areas, and you've been very eloquent in kind of explaining why you rank people where you rank them, and I could learn from that. Sometimes I'm not as eloquent, but it's all good.
Well, I'm not always right, but hey. It goes back to what happens on the field. Not no preseason rankings, not no 5, 4, 3-star, none of that. It's all about what happened between them white lines, baby.
Absolutely, yes, sir. A couple comments before we dive in. Karen Belk is here on time.
What's up, Karen? What's up, Miss Belk?
Miss Belk, how you doing, Miss Belk, man? Hope we're making you proud of Independence.
Proud patriot at that. Proud patriot.
Absolutely. Let's see. Kareem. Welcome back, Kareem. Indy better with the wheels off of Mallard Creek. Oh, all right. We're just jumping right into week 1. All right. I like it.
Big time matchup week 1. Big time.
No pressure. No pressure, Big Eye. No pressure over there, Big Eye Webb. Summer Blevins checking in. Hey, guys. Big season coming up for a lot of teams and players. Can't wait. Absolutely. Absolutely. Your son being a very talented young man himself. We might mention him tonight a little later on when we get into the Queen City Conference. Let's see. Tyjon Pringle missed the last 2 live shows. Glad I'm not Lars. Well, Coach, it's good to have you, man. It's good to have you as always, man. Friday night, you got a little bit of love here from Tim Hamby.
Oh, what's going on, co-worker? What's good, baby?
You finally got the link. Well, if you just follow us on Facebook at Charlotte Football Insiders, you always get the link, Tim. We appreciate it, man. Thank you.
I appreciate you, brother. Good hearing from you, man.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, the producer is here. Fresh off his PTO week.
Got the clean shave, baby.
Man, we got to check this out. Hold on. What's up? Oh.
Hey, man. I do go into the office sometime, man. I gotta look presentable now. I can't look crazy all the time. Sometimes, but not all the time, man.
All right. Well, impressive.
I'm here.
Impressive. All right. Good
Thank
stuff,
you,
man.
Good. Glad to be here.
Ladies, he is single and ready to mingle, so just keep that in mind.
Yep, after dark, baby.
Let's not go there yet.
I was about to say it's early. We only been on 6 minutes? Wow.
The sun's still out, baby. The sun's still out.
That would have been a record.
Oh gosh. All right. Last comment before we get started. Tiffany Bryant decided to watch the show. Well, we're glad to be bringing it to you. So let's get into it. Private and charter school football analysis. This is a comprehensive poll for the private and charter schools in Mecklenburg County. Let me say that again, in Mecklenburg County. That is the focus tonight. So 1 through 10, we got Providence Day at number 1. Should not be a surprise to most people out there. They are loaded this year. Charlotte Christian at 2. Country Day at 3. Charlotte Latin 4. And then Community School at Davidson 5. Hickory Grove 6. Lake Norman Charter 7. Corvian Community 8. Covenant Day 9. And South Lake Christian 10. Before I get deep into that, anyone have some thoughts on these guys right here?
No question, no disputing that top one, especially like you said, the talent they got coming back, and obviously the quarterback situation there. So pretty much there's no arguing that number 1.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, you could argue that they might be overall, and it's an argument, of course, but you could say overall they could be private or public the best team in the state with all the talent that they possess, especially on the offensive side of the football. But it's an argument, once you start looking overall. But for the purposes of this, I felt like Charlotte Christian is their best competition. It's been that way the past couple of years. The coaching change at Charlotte Christian with Coach James coming in to take over. Obviously, he's going to have some big shoes to fill. A lot of championship wins over the past years. But he has a lot of talent that we're going to talk about here in just a second. Country Day at 3 with Coach Whitman and those guys. I think they're going to, bounce back and have a stronger season. We're going to talk about some players they have in the fold over there, but his teams always play hard. They always do some interesting things on the schematic side of things. I really enjoy watching them from that coaching side of things. Sometimes we're a little outmanned from the player perspective. You have to get creative and do some things schematically to give your kids a chance, and I think he does a good job with that over there. Charlotte Latin at 4. Another coaching change. We know Coach Harden left and went to A.L. Brown. A lot of people kind of question, where they would go. We know their quarterback has left. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But they still have some talented players over there that I think they can compete and do some things overall with their schedule. Now, when they get into conference play, it'll be interesting to see, they can make a push to get into that NCAA playoff picture. The second half of this had some interesting teams, and it's kind of hard to decide where to rank these guys ultimately. But Community School Davidson had a great season last year. We've talked about AJ Sirianni, who's graduated, but he was an excellent quarterback for those guys. A lot of talented guys on that team that have moved on, but they still have a couple of guys that are returning this year that can make a big difference for them. Quietly, Hickory Grove has some players, when I researched them, that are really impactful. A couple players that have played, in public schools have kind of switched over to that program. And once we dig into them, you see that they have some guys that can really do some special things. And I think they can really make an impact as far as going far in their playoff situation. Lake Norman Charter, Coach Montroy from South Meck was their defensive coordinator. He is there for his second season back in the fold. They've got a couple guys that can do some things on the field. We'll talk about here in just a minute. Corvian was in their first year last year. Their coach is back again for the second year. A lot of people may not know this, but Corvian is a charter school that's located near Mallard Creek. And they have some kids that can do some things as well. Really skilled guys we're going to talk about here in just a second. Covenant Day busted on the scene last year in the NCISAA. A lot of people didn't know that they, had some talented kids. And they really kind of snuck up on some teams, and they made, a nice run and had a good season. The Culevados kid that we talked about a lot last year is no longer there. He's in Providence. I was going to mention that a little bit later. But they still have a couple kids that are talented, and I think they can still, do some things. And then South Lake Christian, at 10, I say this about every school in Charlotte. Everybody has talent. It then gets down to a numbers game of how much talent do you have, and the kids get tired. If someone gets hurt, can someone else step up? And, that's kind of the battle South Lake faces, but they still have a couple of kids we're going to highlight as well. So before we move on, should anyone kind of be ranked in a different spot for you guys?
As far as I go, I'm gonna lean on y'all experience with this because I'm really not familiar with the private schools. Although I've seen me being the PA announcer at Carver, I've seen the community school of Davidson get down. And as far as this year on the schedule, Carver's playing 3 of these teams this year. So Charlotte Latin, Community School of Davidson, and Corvian Community. So, but I'm gonna lean on y'all experience with this right here, y'all expertise.
I think it's pretty clear cut with Providence Day, though. I think Providence Day is always going to be the team to beat. As far as private school goes, they're 7-on-7 kings. Seem like everywhere they go, they win during the summer. They have a obviously the quarterback Jaden Davis, the Ship kid just committed to UNC Charlotte. Sorry, UNC Chapel Hill. My apologies. And they have a long list of talent receiver wise. I think this is their year. Just once again, I think they're gonna be very senior led, and a lot of key positions. And I think until somebody dethrones them in the private school conversation, they're gonna be on top for a while.
Absolutely. All right, so let's jump into some of these kids. A couple are being mentioned in the comments. I'll show that in just a second. But you mentioned it, Big Eye Webb, Providence Day quarterback Jaden Davis. I think what else can you say? Committed to Michigan, 6'1", 190. Incredible arm talent and accuracy. And don't be fooled. He can run the ball too. You know, he can be a dual threat quarterback when he has to be. But, you know, with the weapons you mentioned on the outside, he doesn't have to run that often. Some of those weapons you mentioned, Ship, committed to North Carolina. Channing Goodwin on the other side is committed to Michigan along with him. If you can imagine that combination going there together. Of course, the 2025 number one recruit, offensive line and defensive lineman David Sanders. Awesome size, great agility. I think he projects more on the offensive side as he moves on to college, but he also plays defensive line for Providence Day and can rush the passer really well. I saw that up close last year in the championship game against Christian. They picked up Leo Delaney from East Mecklenburg, a big 6'6", 300-pound offensive lineman who I first saw at the VTO lineman camp. And he didn't have any offers at the time, and I was shocked because this guy's an obvious D1 player, and he's picked up Power 5 offers, mainly ACC schools since then. One name that a lot of people may not know, people deep in the know this, but they're going to pick up a running back transfer. His name is Ian Klein from out of state. He was a 2,000-yard rusher at his previous school. And when I looked at his film, the biggest thing I love about this kid is he is just tough as nails. Like, he has good speed, good agility, but he will flat run people over in the hole. I mean, it is nasty. They used to run kind of like an old school power I offense, and they just gave him the ball and they put like a lineman in front of him. I loved watching it. It was like 1980s football. That kid's going to give them an element in the backfield that they haven't had before. If they get into a close game and they got to run the football, this kid can get it done. Linebacker Lucas Santwire, he'll be the heartbeat of that defense. He had over 100 tackles last year. Very important player for those guys, along with the DB Braxton Winston III, who's got several offers in his own right, and a very talented cover corner. Great feet, great speed, excellent ball skills for that young man. So,
yeah. Also to add to that, sorry, me cut you off. Also, add to that, their receiving core, they have a young stud, Gordon Sellers.
Oh yeah,
who's 6'2". He already has offers from Virginia Tech and UNC Charlotte. So that just another weapon that Providence Day has.
Well, we could keep going on them. Quarterback Zayd Lott behind Jaden Davis. Imagine this. Some people are saying to me that Lott could be better than Davis.
Right.
I mean, Davis is one of the top quarterback recruits in the country. I saw some video on Lott. I've wrote about him before. He's going to be dynamite. So you want to keep looking to the future. Lott to Sellers is going to be something you hear over the next couple of years as well. But Providence Day loaded with talent. Coach Chad Greer does an awesome job with that program. Big time favorites to repeat as champs. Charlotte Christian, look at the defensive lineman Bryce Young. Of course, his father being Bryant Young, who's in the Hall of Fame in the NFL. Bryce, oh my gosh, you talk about the size on this kid. 6'5", dominant edge rusher. I mean, that's the first thing when you look at Young, that's the first thing you see. It shouldn't be a surprise, of course, with his father being who he is, but really good young man by all of accounts. Seeing him up close, you see why he's highly recruited. Committed to Notre Dame, 6'5", 230 pounds. Excellent frame. He's just gonna blossom when he gets up there. But some other guys, of course, Micah Gilbert at wide receiver, 6'4", 205. Dominant presence on the outside. Big time 4-star recruit for them. LJ Porter, a young man. He kind of played a little bit of outside linebacker, and he played kind of like an H-back last year in his freshman year. This year, I'd expect to have the ball in his hands more from the running back spot. He's super talented with the ball in his hands. I think he'll get a chance to kind of show what he can do from there. Ryan Henley is a key piece also. He's also a running back. He'll kind of supplement and support Porter carrying the football for those guys. And then 2 offensive linemen. Of course, Will Slater was at our summer showcase. Really strong center, stout at the point of attack. About 6 feet, 250 pounds. And then Gavin Major, good size O lineman. It's about 6'3" at the tackle spot. Is going to be a major key for their offensive attack. Like I said before, I think they're the biggest threat to Providence Day. Christian has always been super well coached. I'm always impressed with that staff over there. Has some former NFL guys on that staff. They do some excellent things schematically, and I'm sure Coach James is going to have those guys ready to go. Country Day, Khalil Wright is a kid at quarterback. I believe he came over from Cox Mill a couple years ago. Very talented young man. I think he just picked up his first offer. I want to see where that was from, but he's a dual threat kid. I wrote about him before. He is a 2025 class, 6'1", 180 pounds. His first offer came from Central, and Coach Oliver, who came to our coaches symposium that we had. So they see good talent, obviously, and Khalil can get it done. He's going to be a big piece for them, obviously, this season. Also for Country Day, I love linebacker Oscar Hydrick, a 6'3" kid. Kind of can play the middle and the outside, can rush the passer, has good ability to drop back in coverage. Offensive lineman David Bach is a 6'4" kid, about 250 pounds at the tackle position. Good feet, good pass protector. Then they also have wide receiver London Rogers Hicks, kind of a slot guy, good hands, good quickness. Those are going to be some key guys for Country Day this year. And as I said before, I like what they do schematically on both sides of the ball. Coach Whitman always has his guys ready to play. Those are going to be the key guys for the Buccaneers. Get over to Charlotte Latin. Offensive lineman Max Brumfeld, good strong lineman, 6'3", about 270 pounds. Interior offensive lineman, guard center type on the next level. When they need tough yards, they're going to run behind Big Max. Latin also has wide receiver Hudson Shoop, slot guy, about 5'7", 150 pounds. Works really hard. Really good quickness in and out of his routes. Catches the ball well with his hands, doesn't let it get to his body. Tight end DN Banks Cutter is about 6'2", 250. Defensive end edge player. Really like his pass rush and get off. At the tight end spot, he's a good inline blocker. And he can also make tough catches over the middle. And then defensive end Jordan Pence is a 6'4" kid who just picked up his first offer from Hampton Sydney. Really strong player. I think he has a rare ability to both play the run and rush the passer equally well. He's only a big key for those guys at Charlotte Latin this year. I told y'all I had a lot of players. If you're checking in for the SOMAC, just hang tight. We got a couple more players to highlight from these guys. Community School of Davidson wide receiver Tanner Mullins. Last year he caught 76 passes with over 1,000 yards, multiple touchdowns. Very talented young man. A lot of that came from AJ Sirianni, so we'll have a new quarterback throwing him the football this year. But he'll be the offensive standout. On the defensive side of the ball, you have big lineman AJ Houston, who's 6 foot, 300 pounds. Run stuffing young man. Also is going to help out on the offensive line. Hickory Grove, there was a comment earlier that Anthony Hopkins was going to become a star this year. Oh, here it is right here. Superstar from Kareem Chavez Lopez. Absolutely. He came to the HBCU Carolina Showcase. Had a couple nice runs in the highlights in the one-on-one situation for the showcase. Really dynamic young man. Probably the best running back in the area that you don't know offhand. But also, they also have some other guys. Offensive lineman Bryce Lofton, formerly at Chambers, 6'3", 350 pounds, huge, dominant, run blocking machine.
350.
Oh yeah. I've seen him up close before.
Yeah.
DB Jazir Dukes was at the summer showcase. Was one of the top DB performers. 6'3". Really good feet as well, long. I think college coaches will like him once he gets more film out there. Wide receiver Langdon Jones is a good receiver. Has good film out there from the 7-on-7 season. Offensive lineman Will McGraw I've wrote about before. 6'4", close to 300 pounds. I think it was an all-state selection for them last year. Quarterback Grant Powell at 6'1", 190. Those the ball really well. I think Jazir will also play some offense along with Langdon. They got a lot of threats. I expect some of those O linemen to also play some D line, help those guys out on that side of football as well. Corvian DB Andre Jackson Jr. I watched this kid, man. Excuse me. His film is really, really good. Really good. He has some excellent man coverage techniques. He breaks on the ball very well. Has a couple of interceptions in that film that are really impressive. He's a good player. He's a really good player. I think being at Corvian, people don't, see him as much, but he's legit. Along with him, they have a wide receiver in Douglas Quarles, who's athletic, has good speed, can catch the football, makes some special plays in space in the quick screen game as well. Lake Norman Charter, wide receiver Major League, is a slot guy. They throw him a lot of bubble screens, a lot of quick screens, get the ball to him quick in space and let him go to work. He also has some good speed to get open down the field and make some big plays in the passing game. Also, on the defense side of football for Lake Norman Charter, linebacker / running back. I love this name, Sir Thomas Lawson. When you got a name like that, man, you can't help but be a good football player.
Right.
Kid works really hard. He's about 5'8", 190 pounds. Physical player at the point of attack. Even if at linebacker or, and especially in the running game at linebacker or running the football, would be a key player for those guys. Covenant Day defensive end Luke Graves. I think we talked about him a little bit last year when we did top players. Good size. He was around 6'4", comes off the edge. Really good pass rusher for them. Also for Covenant Day standouts, DB Tyler Dennison was a all-state selection, for those guys last year. Also key guys, linebacker Stephen Schubert, show a lot of leadership for that team. And wide receiver Jakota Hayes, good size, has really good hands. I love the way he runs his routes. And then finally for South Lake Christian, linebacker David Alexanian, the leading tackler for those guys last season. Also quarterback Tyson Williams, 6'1" kid, good arm, some dual threat ability. And then athlete Austin Williams. I don't think they're related. But talented young man in his own right. I need to take some water. Guys, you got any other thoughts here?
Hit all of them, Pat.
Great job, Pep. Pep, you did a great job, man.
Yeah, your notes are exactly like mine, man. You hit all the key points.
You have 2 more than I had.
I get to see the DB Andre Jackson Jr. in person when Corvian comes to Carver. That's Carver's homecoming opponent. So I get to see them in person.
I found that pretty interesting that Carver's gonna play three of the private schools.
Yeah, when I seen the schedule, I was like, wow, okay. Well, Community School Davidson is in their conference. Charlotte Latin and Corvin's in their conference too. Now Charlotte Latin, I don't know how they got scheduled, but the other two, that's a conference. Those are conference games.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know Corvin was in that conference.
Yeah, I think they just replaced somebody. I got to find out some more information, but I know they're in their conference now.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Comments before we move on to the SOMEC. Let's see here. Tim Pride is glad to be here. Good to see you, Tim. Appreciate you watching as always. Raven Gap, no, I'm not going to Georgia. Although Raven Gap always has some really talented guys. They really do. It's a really unique program. We talked to one of their kids a couple years ago during COVID. We were covering the private schools a lot. The dude is watching. Thanks for the preseason high school football update. Well, thanks, dude. I know who you are.
Anonymous. He's anonymous.
Yep. Group member.
Oh man. Let's see here. Mizzle Gilbert is really, really good. Yes. I mean, his catch radius is what I love about him. I mean, he goes up and gets the football, man. It's super impressive, man. Jamal, we got Coach Tatum from Walkertown, the famous.
What's going on, Coach?
Good to see you, man. Good to see you. He has a YouTube channel, does a lot of great analysis on football things, especially from the offensive side of the ball. So make sure you check that out. All right. Bobby Brown, I'll save that comment for when we get to the Queen City Conference. All right, here we go. SOMEC. Let's take a look here. These are the SOMEC conference predictions this year from Petman. They're mine. They're mine. All hate mail comes to me. All right. RG-Kill at 1, Olympic at 2, Palisades 3, Myers Park 4, South Mac 5, and Berry 6.
And Myers Park fell off like that, man.
Hey, I was just thinking that 3 is gonna raise an eyebrow. You know,
right?
Shout out to Coach Simmons.
This is their second year existence, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna have to switch that number 1 and 2. Pep.
Why?
I don't know. The Olympic returned a lot of people from last year's team, right?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Okay. Shout out to Coach Hart at Olympic, by the way.
He's the man.
Okay.
Any other comments?
I mean, you can raise some eyebrows with that one, Pep. You got to
definitely
this one.
All right. So RG-Kill, Coach Joachim has been there a long time. A lot of stability within the program. I feel like they always seem to have kids that are in their system that rise up almost like systematically, like clockwork. Last year, Olympic did get the best of them. It was basically a 2-team race last year. It came down to that home game that Olympic had, and they were able to pull that out by a pretty good margin, I believe. I think it was like 35-14 or something like that. I think the lines of scrimmage are really strong across the board for RG-Kill. It seems they always seem to find a quarterback that'll come in and run that system really well. I think they are super well coached on both sides of the football. They've got some kids that we're going to talk about here in just a second. I think they're going to show some strong leadership. And I think they got a little chip on their shoulder. After, the way last year ended with that loss to Olympic, and then they kind of went out in the first round against Mallard Creek. We got Coach Robert Washington back from PTO joining the show.
All right, took a half day.
So, Coach Washington.
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
But for Olympic, they still have, some guys coming back from that team that went 11-1 last year. That I think are going to be, really important key players. Coach Thompson also has been there a long time. I like that. You mentioned Coach Hart, Jamal. I think he does a great job getting those guys ready to go on the defensive side of football. But they did lose some key guys, especially at the quarterback spot. They're going to be young this year, but I think they've got a talented young man in the fold, in Cato, that's going to come in. He's got really good size, good athletic ability. He's been in their system. So I think as we get closer to conference play, they'll be clicking really good.
Heard a lot about Cato.
Yes, his mother is very proud of him, but as she should be.
Yes, she is.
I enjoy to see that, from parents, that really love and support their kids. I think that's awesome. For Palisades, they're the only school that has everybody back.
Wow.
They didn't lose anyone to graduation. They didn't have any seniors. They have been working really hard. We know who they got at quarterback with, Jarek Patulski. He's come to a ton of CFI camps. I've loved to see seen his growth over the years. It's his senior year. I think he's going to make the most of that opportunity. They got a couple guys that can really run the football in the backfield, including Fettying Turner. Incredible speed. He was one of the top running backs at the HBCU Carolina Showcase we had in the spring. Offensive line, they're bigger than you think. I saw them in the spring. They got good size up front. They can move. Defensively, I think they're going to be aggressive. They got a couple guys in the fold that people may not know about because they're a little young. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But I think they've got enough in this conference, to make some noise. And then you look at their schedule last year. They were competitive against everybody that wasn't Ardrey and Olympic. I mean, they lost to Myers Park by 4. They lost to South Meck by a touchdown, 14-6. They were right there against Berry. They were right there against Harding when Harding was in the league. So you see the changes at the other schools, and then you see what Palisades has coming back in the fold. That's why I have them at 3 here.
And I wanted to chime in there. Now I know things are, quite a bit different now, and the landscape of Charlotte football has changed quite a bit. But historically speaking, we have seen new schools get competitive really fast before. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not saying that's exactly what's going to happen, but if you think about certain newer schools, the schools that have opened in the last 20, 25 years, we've seen schools get competitive really quick. It's not like the NFL or college football where there's this huge ramp up period where it takes years and years to get competitive. So just throwing it out there, just food for thought.
Absolutely. I will share it. Nizzle, you are funny. You are funny, man. I will tell you that Palisades did pick up linebacker and running back Kendrick Davis from Harding. He's a very talented young man. He's got Division I offers. I think that one's a little under the radar, but that did happen.
So he was right what he just said. You literally proved him right.
It's not exclusive when it's on Twitter, man.
What's going on at Myers Park? Why have they fell off, or not the way they were a couple years ago?
A lot of coaching changes. Coaching changes. Seems like every year it's been a new coach, but I think Coach James coming in, I think he will be a really, really good addition to that program. He was there last year. He got promoted to the head coach this year. But Myers Park always has talent. I used to coach at Myers Park in 2011. And, when you have so many kids, it's one of the biggest schools in the state.
Right.
There's talent in there. But, if you turn over coaches every year, it's really difficult.
Right. Kind of hard to keep that camaraderie.
Yeah. Yeah. But I out of anyone on this list, they're a team that is a sleeper because of the talent that they have. And if they can bring it all together, they can really do some things. Because I read an article, and one of the kids that was interviewed, was saying that they feel like they're slipped on. Of course, that's one of the popular things to say, but I think it's true. I mean, when Coach Chadwick was there, they were one of the top teams in the state. Of course, that was back in the Drake May days, and we saw where Drake May is now. So, I think they've got, some talented kids we're going to talk about here in just a second. But, out of anyone, they're the dark horse, in my opinion, along with Palisades, just because, of who they are.
Gotcha.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I don't know how this year would go for Myers Park, but I think it's better now that they had a head coach that's been there in the program. So the kids kind of already know him, so to speak. I guess kids are already familiar with him. So I think it's a little easier transition with a coach that's already been on staff, that's kind of worked with those different coaches, but the kids already know him. So I think this year could be a different year for Myers Park, just with the coaching change, is somebody that the kids are already familiar with.
Yeah, and also I'm piggyback on that. Myers Park has traditionally always done well when they were sleepers. Like, they didn't do real well when they was favorites and picked to win a state championship or something like that. They always underachieved, and that might be part of people sleeping on them for last couple of years. But watch out for Myers Park. I think they might be better than that fourth place there.
Oh yeah.
But I always remember, guys, these are Pep Man's rankings.
I love you, Big Eye Shelby. I love you.
The Pep Man rankings, baby.
I'm sure you'll tag me as you've been doing. South Meck, South Meck is in a kind of a situation, in my opinion. Talent comes in cycles, and they've had a lot of talent the past couple of years. I remember, I'm sure you guys remember the year that they had the huge offensive line, and they really had a really strong season. They won, I think, 9-10 games, made the second round of the playoffs. They had Newman at running back. Really, really good year for those guys back then. Coach Evans, I'm sure this will be posted in their locker room, and I love, Coach Evans. I think he's awesome. But they got some guys that are going to step up into some roles that have kind of been waiting their turn the past couple of years, coming up through the JV, kind of been backups on varsity. Now they got a chance to shine. And, those guys are in those roles. Sometimes all a kid needs is a chance. And then they step in that role, and they, do some things that, you may not have seen from them before. You may not have expected. And I think some kids at South Meck have a really, really strong opportunity to kind of make a name for themselves, get on the recruiting map, and make me look bad. To be quite honest with you, and that happens every year. And we'll talk about a couple of those kids here in just a minute. And then with Berry, Berry lost a lot of kids at graduation. They had a really good senior class last year, had some talented kids. So they're kind of rebuilding. But I love what Coach Redding is doing with that program. I see a lot of great things on social media from them. They're very active as far as promoting the kids that they do have. Very organized. They're gonna be better with Coach Redding in the fold. I think he's the right guy to lead that program. That's for sure. Anyone else got some thoughts on this right here before we jump to the kids? Okay, let's highlight some kids. All right, so for Argykill, offensive lineman Brandon Stoner, I'm going to step out and say this kid is the most under-recruited kid in Charlotte. This kid is 6'5", 300 pounds, moves his feet well, really strong in the weight room. I don't know. I don't know what college coaches are waiting on. I mean, he is I think he's a 2025 kid. I was talking to Coach Jocham about him a little while ago. He feels like maybe, after, the season, things will really kind of jump off for him from a recruiting standpoint. But I'm telling you, man, college coach, you need to jump on this young man. He is a heck of a steal right now because, for some reason he's flying under the radar. 3.28 GPA, all conference last year, officially 6'4", 310. But he is a dominant run blocker, and he moves and mirrors well in the pass protection game. So
sounds like someone we need to see at the Winter Showcase on December the 2nd, Pep.
Absolutely. I'd love to have him because he's a monster, man. A couple other kids from RGKL. Linebacker Austin Settles was an all-conference player last year. I think he might have been the defensive conference player of the year. Middle linebacker, 6'1", 190. He can move sideline to sideline in the 2024 class. My goodness. Really, really impressive player. I think that's another one that's, a little under-recruited, but you know how it is now. You just have to be patient and let things kind of settle out. Also for RGKL, I interviewed this young man a little while ago, Chancellor Bryant, 5'10", 175, DB. I think he's more of a safety than a corner. Team leader, really, really good agility, good speed in the open field. Good discipline in zone coverage, good ball skills. Really important player. He's going to be a big-time piece for that RGKL defense. And RGKL seems to always have these guys in the secondary. You guys remember Switzer from last year. Josh Switzer was kind of a dynamic kid in that same role that I think Bryant will play. So Coach Jocham will scheme those guys up and put them in areas to be successful. Excuse me. Olympic linebacker Jerron Tosi. They call him Chief, middle linebacker. Really, really impressive player. I really like the fact that he's so dynamic in the run game. He is not afraid to come downhill, shed a block, make a tackle for no gain. 6'1", 215. He's a 2025 kid, good GPA at 3.4. He's going to be a big-time leader for those guys the next 2 years. Of course, you look at Devin Walker at the running back spot. He had over 1,000 yards last year. He's kind of the power in that run game. They like to run a lot of zone. And he reads that really well, particularly on the inside zone type of deal behind those big linemen. And one of those big linemen is offensive lineman and defensive lineman Brandon Hardy. When I visited Olympic, we interviewed him, and he immediately picked up his first offer from Alabama A&M. I believe he's picked up a couple of other offers since then, but he's 6'4", 300 pounds. He moves really well. I feel like he's going to be the big key guy in that offensive line. But they got a couple other big guys to go along with him. I think Harrison is another really talented young man. I think he's a 2025 kid at 6'4", about 270 pounds. So they still have a couple big guys over there that can get it done. I think they have a pretty talented, cohesive offensive line overall. Defensive lineman, they got a big defensive end that comes off the edge. He also picked up an offer from Alabama A&M. I'm trying to remember his name offhand, but I didn't have him on my list, but it just popped up in my mind because I remember interviewing him, and I said, well, how are you not offered? And then he got an offer not too long after that. So Olympic still has some guys. Solomon Ford at the DB spot, talented young man. I think he had 6 interceptions last year from the safety position. He's going to be a really key guy in the backfield on the defensive side of football. For Palisades, DB Joshua Truesdale, he was at the HBCU Carolina Showcase back in April, and he's starting to pick up a lot of recruiting attention. I believe he picked up an offer from Livingstone right after that showcase, and he's picked up a couple other offers as well. He just picked up an offer from Central, 6'3", 190. Um, 3.2 GPA. Really, really talented kid. He's long. That's what the colleges love about him. Good speed. I think he can play corner and safety. He can also play some receiver and help out on the offensive side of football. Also for Palisades, they have offensive lineman Kamari Lawson, who was also at the HBCU Carolina Showcase. We interviewed him in the spring, and he picked up an offer from Alabama A&M. He's going to be a big-time leader for those guys. I really love the way he kind of speaks and commands himself. Really, really good-sized kid at I think he's around 6'4", 270 pounds, class of 2024 kid. He also has a brother on that, also at Palisades, who's going to be, probably around the same size, a couple years behind him. Really, really technically sound offensive lineman. I think maybe on the next level he'll be on the interior, but he's got the ability to play tackle. I think he'll play tackle for Palisades this year. They also have, I mentioned the kid, Kendrick Davis, who came over earlier, linebacker and running back. I think he'll focus more on linebacker there at Palisades. But AJ Davis, double-digit sacks last year coming off the edge, 6'3", 190. Really, really great first step. Really, really good moves as a pass rusher. That popular edge position is what, colleges are really, really craving. As we get deeper in the show, we have a couple dynamic edge guys at other schools that are getting big-time offers and committed to big-time schools. AJ, I think, has that ability. I really think he can also help out on offense playing some tight end as well. So, we talk about Palisades. They have some other guys as well. I mentioned Fetty Turner earlier as well at the running back spot. He's also going to help out in the special teams game, kick return, especially punt return. He'll be dynamic there. So they got some guys, man. They got some guys you haven't heard of them because of where they are, but they're going to come on the scene strong this year. Myers Park with wide receiver Brody Keefe. A lot of people know Brody because he just kind of exploded from a recruiting standpoint. The first time I saw Brody's film and I saw he was a 2026 kid, I said, there's no way. There's no way this kid is 2026 with the ability that he has at the receiver spot. He's 6'3", 185. He's highly recruited because he's super athletic. He has great body control in one-on-one situations, the high point of football. Good, really good speed. Runs really, really great routes. Strong hands. Good attitude by all accounts. He's a hard worker. Him leaving Marvin Ridge to go to Myers Park is a huge, huge get, obviously, for that program. It gives them a big target to focus on from the offensive side of things. Some of the offers he has: Tennessee, South Carolina, Ohio State, and just kind of scrolling down, North Carolina, NC State. So Arkansas, Wake Forest, that's the kind of kid we're talking about. And he's got a couple more years to shine on the high school level before he has to make a decision. Really, really a big-time player right there for the Mustangs. Also from Myers Park, they've got a couple other guys that can make some things happen. Let's see, wide receiver Jahari McDonald. He's a kid that I've seen since JV. Really, really quick, explosive slot receiver. Does some special things with the football in his hands. Then the offensive lineman Thomas Wilson. When we talk about under-recruited guys, offensive line, Thomas Wilson's a 6'3", 290-pound offensive lineman that was all conference last year. GPA 4.0. I mean, I don't know what else you want from an offensive lineman right there. Interior OL, guard and center, he can play. check them out, man. College coaches. I know college coaches are watching this because we got messages from you after Kenneth broke down Cabarrus County so well last week. So make sure you check that young man out over there at Myers Park. For South Meck, wide receiver DB Ladarian Lynch. He's an athletic kid, kind of on the smaller side, probably going to be a slot guy on the college level. He just picked up his first offer. I just want to make sure I get the school right. Yeah, picked up his first offer from Johnson C. Smith probably about a month ago. He's, I think he's like 5'8", 160. Really, really good speed. Even though at that height, he has the ability to jump up and high point the football. I know Joe will do some things to get the football in his hands in a quick way, screen game, quick passing game, things of that nature. South Meck also has a couple other guys here. Quarterback Marquez Johnson, we start kind of stepping into that role this season. He's a senior. He's kind of waited his time a little bit. He'll have a chance to kind of lead that Sabre offense. And then defensive lineman Ethan Mole, about 6 foot, 230 pounds, strong at the point of attacking the run game. Can rush the passer a little bit as well. I like his kind of explosiveness off the line as far as a defensive line prospect. And both of those guys are 2024 guys for the Sabres. And then finally with Barry, this is a guy that you're going to need to know. He's 6'4", 180 pounds, 2026 kid, wide receiver DB Miles Smith. You look at his film, man. Athleticism is really, really high. Really good speed. He's showing good ball skills from a safety perspective already. Obviously, with that size on offense, he can, go up and catch the football really well. He's got good speed with the ball in his hands. I've said this before. Barry has talent. They always seem to have talented kids. I think this is another one right here. I would get in early on him. I think he's going to be really good. A couple other guys for Barry. Defensive lineman Chris Hartley, a 2024 kid, about 6'1", 230. He can kind of play that interior, or he can slide out to the defensive end and rush the passer a little bit. And then athlete Jaden Juice McKinnon is going to do some special things at the receiver position. I think he's kind of a slot guy, good speed with the ball in his hands. And then at DB, he'll play some corner and really kind of be aggressive and playing that corner spot for those guys. But, like I always say, they'll have some more kids to step up. They always do. Really, really kind of under the radar as far as talent goes over there off Allegheny Street. All right. A lot of comments here. We had to get through a lot of kids there. Let's see. Brandon Hunt. What's up, Coach? Brody Keefe, wide receiver transfer. We talked about him. 9 Power 5 offers. I don't know how many I named, but that might have been about all of them. Let's see here. Karen Belk says Olympic had a hard time against Indy last year. I think she was surprised that I had him at number 2. Not the same quarterback. No, the new quarterback this year for Trojans. Tyrese, I see your comment there. Come on, man. You look like that let's see. Chat administrator's here. There you go. Yeah, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Tyrese, we talked about him. That's Mr. Cato that we talked about. We don't do recruiting rankings, but I think he has the potential to be really good. I really do. He's got good size. I think he has a good arm. Time will tell to see where he ends up as far as
Tyrese.
What's up?
What's up, Tyrese?
Oh yeah. Tyrese is what is he? Big Eye Shell. What is he? Is he a Kings Mountain guy?
No, Shelby.
Shelby guy. Okay. All right. We always talk about Shelby on this show. Anyway. All right. Let's jump to the next conference. That is the Southwestern 4A.
The fans, Pep, get a pant. Oh man. Oh,
Mm.
fans what they want to see. Come on.
And they got a logo. They get their own logo on the slide. Man.
Man, let's get right.
What are your thoughts?
I'm gonna have to agree with that.
Hey, the big
Did he
Shelby,
leave?
Big Shelby, Big Eye, he just left.
Did he hit the eject button? I think he hit the eject button, man. Oh man.
Shout out to Coach Hales. Shout out to Coach Stone. What's happening? But I agree.
Hey, Coach,
Independence fans have already jumped on the comments.
hey, Coach Lil John, what's up, baby? Over there at Butler. They got a good squad. They got a good coaching staff at Butler. They got a heck of a staff over there at Butler, and I know that boy's gonna play.
Oh yeah.
But Independence is gonna be good too. They got a great coaching staff. I think we go back to those days where we see those Butlers independent rivalries that we love to see for so many years. These games are gonna be good, man. I'm telling you. Hopefully, one of them follow my bye week, so I'm gonna make one.
Wasn't the game good between them last year?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, one of them times I ain't got to announce a Carver game or ain't nothing going on up here, I'm gonna try to get down there as much as I can.
Oh, that's gonna be a good one.
I agree. Oh.
Oh gosh. Man. Comments are I'll save them for best of the comments.
Oh, he's back.
He's back.
Come on,
Good to have you, man.
I'm just very disappointed. Very disappointed, but it's just, we got to keep demanding our respect around here, man. So it's all right. Time will tell. Only time will tell.
Yeah, I think, Pep, I think the reason why this is a good preseason ranking is because Independence, as great of a season as they had last year and as big of a step as they took last year, they have to prove that they can replicate that and even take the next step. They had such a great season. They had so many great players. They've graduated a couple of great players. They have great players that are still back. They've got to prove that they can now do it when the target is on their back. Last year, they were the hungry dog that was looking for some meat. This year, people are looking at them. People are circling the calendar because Coach McFadden has done such a great job of bringing that program back to prominence. So I think you're right. Butler has so many incredible athletes on both sides of the ball. Independence has so many incredible athletes. But I think for preseason ranking, Pep, I think that you're right on it, man.
I agree.
And that's with love to my dude.
I don't agree, but it's
you should. Well,
You're not supposed to agree. No one expects you to.
Hey, big guy, you gotta keep that chip on your shoulder, baby. Like, hey, you gotta strive for something. If you start off at the top, you ain't got nothing to strive for.
It's all right, man. We understand that the target's on our back, so we're just gonna keep our head down and keep working, man.
It's strategic, man.
Yeah, strategic.
That's all.
Bulletin board material.
Hey, chat administrator, you ain't got to worry about the email, baby. I'm going right to the direct line. Hey, I got his phone number, baby.
I wish we could broadcast our post-show conversations.
No, you don't.
What I will say,
not if you want to keep a show, you don't.
I will say I don't agree with the prediction, obviously, but also, it's true. Like same thing we tell the guys every day, nobody's sleeping on you anymore. Everybody wants to see if you can replicate the targets on your back. People want to know if either last season was true or last season was a fluke. We have the replace some guys, but those guys have been under good leadership with the coaching staff and the senior class that just left. So it's a lot of expectation back on the program. Coach McFadden did a great job of putting us back in that position. Obviously, with the first game of the season, is at Memorial Stadium against Mallard Creek. So you're getting back to what Independence is used to be and what traditionally has been. So, we'll just see this as another challenge on the for the year, man. So, yeah.
To clarify, which team do you not agree with, Webb?
I don't agree with that number one school over the second one. I would put Independence first, obviously, but we don't really speak on that school down the street. So,
But you would have Butler at number 2, right?
I don't know, man.
Mm.
All I know is I have it number one. I don't really focus on nobody else.
I feel you, brother. I feel you.
But you can never count out Charlotte Catholic, though. Even though I think they running a new system, possibly, but you can never count out Charlotte Catholic. But all I say, I would put Independence.
They got to work. They got to work on that defense. Because when I went to that game against Grims last year, that wasn't Charlotte Catholic I ever seen before. So they got to get that D right.
Well stated, right there. So Butler over Indy for me, it was very close.
You're definitely paying to get in the game, though.
Hey,
but I would pay for that game. That's how good that game is going to be, man. I mean,
it's the last game of the year, so I don't think your bye week is on the last game of the year.
Nah, man.
That's the last game of the season?
Yep.
Wow, that's tough. Well, but you think about this too, y'all. Those 3 teams from 1 to 3, this conference is stacked from 1 to 3. Any of those 3 teams could compete for a state championship this year.
Facts.
So it's really not a knock if you interchange 1 and 2 or 3 and 1, because all of them going to probably compete. So I would say use it for fuel and motivation. I know Coach McFadden, that's going to be bulletin board material. I think Big Shelby, Big I, you're going to have this thing in the locker room. I know first thing Monday morning. I know it. But use this as bulletin material.
I already sent it to the group chat, so don't worry about it.
Oh, you already said it?
Well, here's the thing. So tomorrow is the Southwestern 4A Conference Media Day. So I'm sure as soon as I walk in, there'll be some questions. That's all right, though. It's all right, So the reason why, Kenneth, you had a good point about Independence there. I feel like, they're obviously going to be really good. And we'll talk about their players here in just a second. But Butler with Coach Hales, they've got a lot of good talent on both sides of the football. Some of them you may know, some of them you may not know. But overall, I like collectively what Butler has in the fold. And I feel like they've been knocking at the door the past couple years. Someone earlier, I was kind of reading some stuff. They talked about that Grimsley game. Producer, you remember we were there a couple years ago when they were in the 4A final. And they were up in that game, but then Grimsley was able to come back and win. I feel like every couple years, Coach Hales has a team that can really do some special things. Quarterback Zach Lawrence, it's his 3rd year. He's a junior in that system. We've seen Coach Hales take quarterbacks and build them up and give them more and more as time goes on. I think about Davis Cheek, who ended up going to Elon and then played some in the NFL with the Panthers, as a matter of fact. Some things he did with him when he was in his 2nd year as a varsity player in that system. I think we're going to see a similar rise with Zach. Very talented young man at the quarterback spot. They've got a couple of big linemen, most notably Big Gabe Hernandez, who was our MVP at the O-line position for the HBCU Carolina Showcase. He's got an offer from Virginia Tech already. And they've got some other guys up front. Coach Hales coaches that offensive line, does a great job of making them a strong unit, both from running and pass blocking. And then Coach Stone on the defensive side of things, Tyquan Rankin at the middle linebacker spot. I believe he was Defensive Player of the Year. He's back for his senior year. They got some guys in the secondary that can do some things. We'll talk about them in just a second. But Independence has some special guys too, man. Of course, we talk about Little at quarterback. We had DJ on the show a couple weeks ago. He's doing an awesome job, kind of coaching him and getting him up to speed in that offense. They got a big lineman in Jamari Parker. I think 6'3", 290. Really, really special kid. And then, of course, Quentin Reddish at the safety spot. Committed to Virginia Tech, man. Big time player. I think.
As well.
You're welcome. But I think the biggest difference, I think you guys, you have some really talented young skill guys. Just getting those guys in the fold to see who steps up and replace a couple of those guys that graduated. Kind of especially at the receiver spot. But by the time you guys play at the end of the season, I'm sure they'll be in the fold and they'll be strong and ready to go. And this preseason ranking won't matter. And you guys will settle it on the field. And it'll be a great game. Charlotte Catholic, they have a new head coach. I think that's kind of flown under the radar that Coach Brodowitz is no longer the head coach there. And I think what you said earlier, Big Eye Shelby, about them running a new system offensively, I think it'll be really interesting to see what they do under new leadership. They got the quarterback from Charlotte Latin and Charlie Smith, who had a really strong performance a couple years ago at our showcase, HBCU showcase at Mallard Creek. So he comes over there. He's a 2025 kid. They got the two big tight ends in Larson and Segara. Of course, Larson going to Notre Dame, and Segara has a lot of recruiting attention as well. I think he committed. I don't remember where offhand. When you got dynamic kids like that, I'm sure, Larson can split out sometimes. They can throw him the football as a flex out receiver. We saw them last year kind of go to spread more because they had the guy that can throw the football to do it. And, of course, Charlie, we know, can throw the football really well. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do offensively. Friday night, you mentioned their defense not being the normal Catholic standard. And I agree. That was not normally what you see from Charlotte Catholic defensively. But from what I understand, they have a lot of those guys coming back in the fold this year. So I expect them to be better defensively. And these guys last year, we were at the Charlotte Catholic and Butler game, producer. You remember Butler had a great fourth quarter comeback to win that game by 1. Of course, Independence and Catholic
comeback. That was a huge.
Yeah. Independence and Catholic was an awesome game that Charlotte Catholic pulled out at the end. So I think, we've talked about Indy and Butler, how great, that game was last year. So it's not outside of possibilities that all three of these guys end up tied. But I couldn't do a tie because you guys got on me one year when I did a tie and told me I had to choose. So I made a choice. But that's 1 through 3. I think, like everyone said, those 3 teams are very good. And they all can compete for a state championship. Number 4 at Providence is interesting. Someone had a comment. Here we go. Chat administrator. Also, the Providence QB, who I think will be in for a big year, lit us up at their place last year. Yeah, Providence is interesting because last year they had Luke Bailey. They were known for running the football, but in that game right there that chat administrator mentioned, I think Jackson Dabe is the quarterback that he's talking about. Kind of had a coming out party, so to speak. And now he's come on the scene really strong, and he's got a ton of recruiting attention. And this kid is legit, man. If you haven't heard of him, he's a big-time D1 recruit, 6'3", 190. He also plays baseball. I know, Kenneth, you like that out of your quarterbacks. they can kind of throw from different angles and things of that nature. I mean, he literally just visited Alabama,
Mm.
visited Ohio State, got offers from James Madison, Connecticut. He visited North Carolina, offer from Pittsburgh, Liberty, Boston College, Charlotte, East Carolina, and that's just in the span of 6 months. So the kid is legitimate, man. He's going to be one of the next big time quarterback prospects from Charlotte. And I know you don't associate Providence typically with throwing the football, but I'm interested to see what that Providence offense looks like this year. Because I think they're going to, kind of change things. They're going to kind of open it up a little more. And it's always fun. It's always fun to see what different teams can do schematically when they got talent in different places. Rocky River, I visited them in the spring. I think defensively, they've got some pieces that can be strong. I think offensively, they're going to have to develop a little bit more. I think some guys on the defensive side will come over and help out on the offensive side of football some. We'll talk about some of those kids here in just a second. East Meck and Coach Sanders. I think Coach Sanders is an awesome guy. One of the best dudes to just talk football with. And he's building that program slowly but surely. They got a couple guys that can do some things on the field. We'll talk about them in just a little bit. And then Garinger, it's the same situation, man. They got a new coach again this year. We met. I think 4 of their coaches came to our kind of coaches dinner that we had a couple months ago. Really nice guys, and they want to learn. They want to get better. But the tough problem with Garinger, as we keep saying, is it's tough to build when your student population is what it is. It's tough to get kids eligible. It's tough to they have a large Hispanic population, so it's tough to get kids into football. And then sometimes when a kid has some success, and they are tired of fighting that battle every week, they want to go somewhere else. So it's a tough build. It's a tough build, and you got to have buy-in from administration, your athletic director, and coaches that are willing to do some things to go the extra mile, consistently. And that can get tough, man. I was at Harding. The inner city schools are tough, man. Those kids have different needs, and it's hard, man. You got to have a village. You really got to have a group of coaches that are bought in to doing what's needed to get done in order to have success on the field.
I was just about to ask you what part of Charlotte they were in, but you answered it already. So,
yeah, they're on the east side.
Okay,
East side.
gotcha.
And Pat, we did a 7-7 at Concord. And we faced them, and I'm telling you, them coaches are coaching those guys up. Coach Williams, they got Coach Philando Clark over there. They're doing a phenomenal job. I just watched them, even though we was competing against them. It's not the same Garinger. So if it's not going to be a lack of coaching. That's what I'm saying. They got the right guys in there. I think they're going to do a good job. It's just like you said, it's got to be buy-in. And I always tell coaches, if you want to beat on your chest, go and coach at Garinger, because you got to really coach over there. And not only just coach, but be about that and pour back into them kids.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you guys know we had Coach Billups here with us, and we always had conversations with him. We supported him the 2 years he was there, trying to help that program and help those kids. And he did an admirable job, as defense coordinator over there. But it's a different beast. It's a different beast, and as you said, Coach, you want to humble yourself a little bit, and you think you're the best coach. Take on the challenge. Take on the challenge, because that's more than coaching. It's more than coaching. It's, being a father figure and, a lot more, for those kids over there. A lot of good comments, man. Best of the comments is going to be great. It's going to be great tonight. My goodness. All right, let's take a look at some players here in the Southwest. So I mentioned Tyquan Rankin. I I think he's the defensive player of the year at the linebacker spot, coming back for his senior year. Talked about Justin Little doing a great job leading that Independence offense. A couple other guys for those respective schools. We mentioned the big lineman from Butler, Gabe Hernandez. Talked about Zach Lawrence at the quarterback spot. DB Phillip Harris, talented young man. I want to get his commitment here because I know he just committed, but he had several big time Division I offers. 6'2", 180, 2024 recruit. Really good ball hawk from the safety position. He committed to James Madison. He was the one last year, if you remember, producer, that forced that fumble, the big fumble that got them the ball back when they set up the scoring drive to win the game. Really, really strong run support player, but he's got good range and ball skills at the safety position, really to get off the hash. Let's see here. Good comment right here from Mr. Jones. Narada Nesbitt, yes, he came over from Garinger, and Cam Macon came over from Barry. Good insight right there. I think Narada is going to help at the DB spot. I think he's also going to be some backup quarterback because he has that ability. Cam Macon, we know him very well. He went viral at the Winter Showcase last year from the catch that he had and got on Instagram. Yeah, they're going to be key pieces. But Butler has a lot of guys, man. They got a lot of guys for sure that can make a big difference on their team. Thinking about Sammy Seatbelt Washington. I love that name at the corner spot. He's a really talented kid. And then there's a couple other guys as well that are really going to make a big impact for the Bulldogs. When we get to Independence, we mentioned Jamari Parker at the O-line. We mentioned Quentin Reddish at the DB spot. The young man that's kind of really exploded here recently, he's going to be playing some linebacker. I think, Webb, he picked up an offer from Miami, was it?
Oh, yeah, you're talking about my guy, Dallas Brandon, man. Dallas has Missouri, Miami, Virginia Tech. My UNC Chapel Hill is his latest. West Virginia, great kid, man. He's only a sophomore, already standing at 6'2", probably 190, 195, around 200 pounds, right in there. Very physical kid, man. Alpha dog, even though he's only a 10th grader.
Yeah, man.
Just a sophomore with all them offers?
Yep. Just a sophomore, man. He picked up all of those pretty much soon as the season was over.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 4.3 GPA, man. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's impressive, man. So, a kid like that on the defensive side of things, he's going to be really, really strong up the middle. Don't worry about you guys stopping the run, really. But as I said before, the big key, and Coach DJ said it himself, is who'll step up and kind of take those skill position spots out from a receiver standpoint, a running back standpoint. We said he's got 3 or 4 guys at each spot. They see the talent, but when the lights come on, who's going to step up. So we know one thing, and I'm not just saying this because you're on the show, Big Eye Shelby, but those guys coach their tails off. They coach their tails off. We saw it last year. It's really impressive to see them operate on Friday nights, the adjustments they make, when units come off the field. DJs are doing an awesome job, as a head coach. And that's really impressive. It's really impressive, man.
I know these guys. If I don't mention their names, I'm gonna hear about it.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Here, hold on. I'll even put you on the spotlight. Go ahead.
Offensively, he highlighted Justin. We got Will Brown, senior tight end. Brian Crowder, all-conference receiver, coming back. We got Jaden Jones, Landon Carr in the backfield. Colton Belcher at receiver. Jamari Parker, senior O-lineman. And Prince Young that we're expecting to do big things for us at receiver-wise. That's going to be a sophomore. Defensively, we got Dallas Brandon that he mentioned, big-time sophomore linebacker with plenty Power 5 offers. We have obviously Q Reddish, who's committed to Virginia Tech. We has his little brother, Nick Reddish, a sophomore athlete. Already has an offer from ECU going into his sophomore year. Got Keegan Quigley, who was an all-conference linebacker last year for us at Independence. Caden Thomas on the front line, that was an all-state guy. Cam Martin, another D lineman that we have, only going to be a sophomore, big-time player. He's going to be a big-time player for us. We have Bryce Lofton at DB, Trey Goins at DB as well. So, yeah, we have a lot of guys that are going to have to step up this year. We lost a big leader in Josh Isaiah, but the things that Josh Isaiah instilled into our defense last year is still with these guys now. Now we're just looking for guys like Coach Fan said, when the lights come on that first game, we're going to see who rises to the occasion.
It's good stuff right there, man. Good stuff. And a couple of those guys I've highlighted. I think I highlighted Quigley pretty recently when I did you guys preview on Prep Red Zone.
Yeah.
Karen Belk says, best football dad to sit by at a game. Q Reddish's dad. Okay. Extreme insight right there. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a good family, man. They it's three brothers their brother Joe just committed. He's committed to Wingate, so he's about to start school there next week. Then you got Q that's going to Virginia Tech. Then Nick is the sophomore, so we're excited to see what Nick is going to do with these next 3 years of Independence. Already having an offer from ECU.
Oh, awesome.
That's good.
What does he play? He play DB?
Nick plays. You'll see Nick a bunch of different places.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Good stuff. All right, Charlotte Catholic. Of course, obviously, Jack Larson going to Notre Dame. If you're watching the show, you probably know who he is. But also they have, I mentioned Nick Segarra at tight end. Let's see if he's committed, but he's 6'5", 220 pounds. Let me verify that here. 6'6", 230. Wow. Okay. Young man still growing. And he committed to Ohio recently. All right, so congratulations to Nick. But of course, with him and Jack at tight end, some really big targets for a young man, Charlie Smith, to throw the football. As I mentioned earlier, he came over from Charlotte Latin. He's a 2025 player. We've seen him up close. He's been to our showcase. Really, really accurate throw of the football. Good strong arm. Good size. 6'1", 190, I believe, is where he's at physically. And then being a 2025, he's got 2 years to kind of lead that Charlotte Catholic attack from the offensive side of things. So it's really going to be interesting to see what they do offensively. As you mentioned, Big Eye Webb, they may change some things schematically, especially with a new head coach in the fold. But we know they're still going to have that ability to be who they are and run that wing-based system really well. Control the clock with the football whenever they need to do so. We mentioned Jackson Debe earlier from Providence. We talked about him, what he has from the offer standpoint, the visits he's taking, big-time recruit for the Providence. But a couple other guys the Panthers have in the fold. I really like this kid. He's been to our showcase before, DB Spencer McHale. He's grown a lot physically. Get his exact height and weight here. 6'1", 170 at the DB spot. 3.0 GPA. He's picked up a couple offers from, Livingstone. And I know he's got another one here. Let's see here. Alabama A&M, that's a good one. Adams State, A&T, Troy. So you see, he's got a couple different Division I offers to play football. He'll be a big piece on that defensive side for those guys. And then, of course, I got to highlight offensive lineman Cash Topinka. Of course, I was there last year when Luke Bailey set the state record for rushing touchdowns in a game with 9. And of course, the offensive line had a lot to do with that. So they lost a couple of those guys at graduation, but Cash is back, 6'2", 305, 2-time all-conference player. He kind of plays a couple different positions up front. He can play tackle. I think his future's at guard. He's got really good interior strength, and he can just kind of grind guys off the football, stalemate them at the line of scrimmage in the pass blocking situation. He's got an offer from Lenoir-Rhyne, which is another really good football school that's put players in the NFL before. So he'll be a big part of that offensive attack for the Panthers this year. Let's see here. Rocky River linebacker Julian Platt came to our showcase and was a top linebacker at the HBCU Carolina Showcase back in April. I think he's got good size. What really impressed me about him was his agility, how well he moved in spaces, especially short spaces, change of direction, things of that nature. 6 foot, 200 pounds. He's a class of 2025 kid, so he's got 2 more years. He's also going to help out on the offensive side of things from a receiver's spot. He's got some 7-on-7 highlights and making some good catches. So he'll be an important piece for the Ravens this year. A couple other guys that I like from Rocky River, DB Karan Gray, more of a safety, 6 foot, 170. I interviewed him when I came over there earlier in the spring. We were doing some different tours of schools. Really talented guy, good speed, especially 6 foot, 175. He may help out some on offense as well. And then a guy that I really think is sleeping, and I don't say this very often, but I think he's really under the radar. We've talked about a couple different edge guys, and we're going to talk about a couple more here in just a second, but Stephen Mewen, he's 6'2", 205, class of 2024, really good edge player that can also play some receiver on offense. Kind of an emotional leader for those guys. I think he's going to do some really big things coming off the edge for the Ravens this year. He's got an offer from Ferrum. So I expect him to pick up some more recruiting attention in the season starts. He put together those first 4-game highlights, especially. East Mecklenburg, I put athlete Takeo Massey. He plays quarterback for them. He also is a really, really good defensive back. We had him at one of our camps when he was a freshman. Really good size, man. Let's see here. Let me get the exact size for you. He's 6'3", 190, 2025 kid. He's got recruiting interest in ACC schools. Excuse me. 3.4 GPA. He runs track. I think his future's at the DB spot, but he can also play quarterback, as I mentioned. Really strong kid, really athletic. He can run. He's long. Really, really good football player overall. A couple other guys for East Meck that I think are going to stand out. Defensive lineman Bryce Lee. He is a underrated player, in my opinion. For the defensive line, he's 6'3", 245. He was all conference last year. Does shot put for track. I think he was a conference champ for that. 3.2 GPA. Really, really good first step. That's what really, let's looking at his film real quick. Dominant first step at the line of scrimmage from the interior defensive tackle position. Really uses his hands well to shed blocks. He's a really, really good player. He's got some recruiting interest from ACC schools as well. The other kid I want to highlight from East Meck, and this kid literally just popped on my radar a couple weeks ago. And his name is Keon Jones. And he popped on my radar because you don't see a lot of kids that just pop up out of nowhere that are 6'4", 200 pounds. And he's a 2024 player. And I'm like, how did I miss this kid? What, what happened? But yeah, he's really athletic. Obviously with that size, he's going to be somebody that merits, some attention. A couple years ago, East Mac had a young man by the name of Prestige Edwards who flew under the radar, and we kind of shined a light on him. He ended up being all conference, and he went to I think he went to A&T, but I think he's transferred since then. But sometimes there are kids that are just kind of under the radar that have that kind of size and speed, and college coaches are always looking for who is somebody that nobody really knows about. And I think this might be one of those kids right here at East Mac for Keon Jones. All right, and for Garinger, Eric Bennett. Saw someone had a comment about Eric. Let's see. Tim Pride. Eric Bennett is a stud. Yeah, he's a good, strong, big kid. I think he's more of like a D tackle, nose tackle kind of kid that can help anchor the line for the Wildcats. All right, so I see somebody's waiting patiently for the Queen City Conference breakdown. You don't have to wait anymore. Who you guys think will be number one in this conference? Huff, Chambers. Who would you guys pick?
Who would I pick, or who do I think you pick?
Who would you pick?
Tough, man.
That's tough. It's a tough conference.
Yeah. I'm not.
If I had to pick,
I take all the smoke, and I give you guys a chance. Nobody want to take no smoke. Man.
I got you, Pep. I'm going with Huff.
I was gonna say Huff simply because of what they return on defense.
Yeah,
their defense is loaded.
I'll add in there. It's hard to argue with Huff based on the returning players. So
Kareem also says Huff. Okay, Kareem. All right.
But if they want to win the state championship, they're gonna have to get their offense right though. They could be more consistent on offense. The defense gonna be there, but their offense got to be better.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue with Huff. So I will open myself up to the smoke. It's hard to argue. It's hard to argue with Huff there.
Big Eye. You going with Huff too?
Man, the best man win. I don't know who's gonna win.
Hey, he's still salty about number 2.
Yeah. I'm still pissed off about mine. I don't really care about nobody else.
All right, so I did go with Huff as mine. This is mine, Pep Man. It's mine. Okay.
Coach Hawk, Chris Hawk, please forgive us. Okay, don't get mad at us.
Right. I was about to say, I bet that's him. Yeah. Don't block me on Facebook.
But I will say with this.
Oh boy.
This ranking, Pep, I still think obviously Chambers feel like they're the team to beat. So I think they won't be mad at number 2, but they won't be as mad about who you put in front of them. So I will say you probably saved you a little bit. But they still one of a number 2. So
yeah. Of course
somebody's gonna be mad no matter what, man. They're gonna be mad no matter what. Okay, well, Kareem has weighed in with his top 5 here. The first 2 the same, but he's got Dub C at 3, North at 4, and then Mallard Creek at 5.
I would switch 4 and 5.
That's a spicy take there.
That is spicy.
But
I can.
Dub C.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that here in just a second. So for Huff, I think Coach Baker coming in is going to give them a different element from the head coaching standpoint, of course, Coach Jenkins did a great job, for several years as when he was the head coach. Coach Baker has a rapport, with Huff. He was the former offensive coordinator. Of course, he was at Cox Mill the past couple years, did a great job there. But Huff has a lot of talent, man, a lot of talent. We can start on defense. We'll talk about their players in just a second. We'll get into that in just a second. But I think, like you said, I think it was you Friday night, you said offensively, it's going to be their key. They have a new quarterback and believe it's going to be Trey Blakeney, who's going to be the man pulling the trigger at the quarterback spot. And they got a couple guys, that can be factors, at the running back spot. Jacob Dossie at receiver, I think it's going to be a key guy. But defensively, man, they are loaded. I mean,
that defense is loaded. Defense is loaded, man. And then if I'm not mistaken, I think so many of them young, they'll be loaded again next year too on defense.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. When I look at Huff, I think they'll be good offensively. I think they have a championship defense.
Facts. Yeah.
And
but their defense is so good, the offense don't really stand a chance because they're not going to be able to compare to that defense. So they can actually have a good offense, but that defense is going to be so with
the defense is nasty, man. Yeah, that defense is nasty. If they offense, it's almost like when Ray Lewis was with the Ravens.
Exactly.
Just if you get a 17, 20 points, game over. But that's the thing though, because I was at the game when they played East last year when they came up here to play East, and defense was on point, but the offense was kind of sketchy. And so that's my only thing with them is their offense. But if they get their offense right and be consistent,
that's going to change with Coach Baker. Pep, no, that's going to change.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I think I wrote in their article on Prep Red Zone that, when you look at situations like this, like you kind of look back at Chambers or what used to be Vance, when Coach Ferb came in the fold, they were always knocking at the door. And then with Coach Ferb, they were able to kind of break through and win, those 2 state titles. I think you might have a similar situation here. Huff has been knocking at the door the past few years. And Coach Baker might be the change, that puts them over the hump to get to that state championship that they've been wanting, for so long. Now, below Huff, we were in a consensus with that, and I think most people would agree, Huff preseason number 1 makes sense. Below that, that's when, people kind of get into a lot of different opinions. And it was hard. It was hard. Once again, like the Southwest, I think I could have, done a tie and been justified, but, ties don't make people feel good.
Not allowed.
So I went with Chambers at 2. Tim Pride has a good point right here. Chambers' new OC, Facil Blanco, says Chambers' offense will be much more efficient. They still have some guys that can make plays, man.
What are they bringing back? How many people do they bring back? How many cut y'all Pep? How many people do they bring back, man?
So they'll have a new quarterback. I think it's going to be the kid that came over from Mallard Creek, but I don't think they've made that official yet. But I've seen him, in 7-on-7 highlights, really throw the ball well. He's got varsity experience. If they go with that kid, I think he'll be able to run the offense and do a good job. They got the kid Vincent coming back at running back. He was an all-conference player. They've got a couple guys up front that are returning. We'll get into those players here in just a minute. But you look at the defense coordinator to go with Coach Blanco on offense. We know Coach Dre Cannon, he's worked our camps. He'll do an amazing job, as he always does, for coordinating that defense. Of course, they lost a couple guys to graduation in the front 7, but they still have some guys, especially in that secondary. My goodness, that secondary is amazingly talented. We'll talk about a couple of those guys here in just a minute, but I like the coaching on both sides of the ball for Chambers. And then I think Coach Wiggins, as the head coach, he's got that kind of quiet, calm confidence. And I think he'll let those guys coach. And, we know Chambers has more talented guys that we may not even know about. And
Shout out to
they'll
Coach
step
Wiggins as
up.
well.
Yeah.
He's from up here in the triad, Ben L. Smith High School.
Mm-hmm.
Big shout out, Coach Wiggins.
Absolutely. With Mallard Creek, oh gosh, a bevy of talent. They beat Huff in the regular season last year, but then they lost the playoff game rematch. With Coach Tinsley and those guys, there's just so many guys over there that can do special things on the football field from a talent standpoint. They'll have some different coaching changes. And I think, we said this last year about them, and it ended up showing true. When they play such a tough non-conference schedule, it helps get them ready for conference play. And, it paid off. It paid off last year. They had a 5-1 conference record last year. And it helped prepare them. They won their first round playoff game against Archer Kell before, running into Huff. But a ton of talent. They've had really good JV teams the past couple of years. Some of those guys be moving up the varsity to make some big impacts. I expect some new names to kind of step out and make themselves known this year at Mallard Creek. I'm excited to see what they do schematically on offense and defense with some new guys in the fold this season, especially. West Charlotte at 4. A lot of people are high on West Charlotte, especially with them, being the 3A. This is a 3A 4A split conference, so in my projection they'll be the top 3A team, which means they'll get into the playoffs automatically because they'll be the number 1 seed out of the conference. People feel like with them in 3A they can make a run. They almost beat Kings Mountain in the 3rd round last year. Kings Mountain was able to come back and win that game at the end. But we talk about championship defenses. I think West Charlotte has a championship defense. I think they really do. We'll start talking about some of those guys here in just a second. And then obviously with Coach Griner in the fold, he knows defense really well. The big question with West Charlotte is offensively. The quarterback, KD Smith, I think is immensely talented as a dual threat kid. I think they'll be able to run the football. They got a good size offensive line, veteran offensive line that's coming back. But can they throw the football when they need to throw the football? That's the big question for West Charlotte. When Coach Griner was at Harding, obviously when you had Kavaris Crouch, you have to worry about throwing the football.
That does make life easier. Having like that.
Most definitely.
But they have a good running back in Scotty Cooper. I really like him. But can they throw the football is the big key. I think this is a situation where maybe in league play, when you got really talented defenses in the top 3 right there, it's a little tougher. But as they get into the 3A playoffs and they see some teams that don't boast big 4A championship defenses, I think they'll be prepared. And I think they can take advantage of that and they can, make a really deep run in the 3A playoffs for sure.
Until they see Chris.
Well,
you already know where I'm going with that.
We'll save that talk. We have plenty of time to talk about that. North Mac at 5. Oh my gosh. You talk about if there was a futures bet as far as where teams are going, North Mac would be near the top of that list. There is so much talent at that school that is in that 25, 26 class, even 27 for a couple of those kids. It's incredible. It's incredible. They got a new quarterback this year. They lost a couple of offensive linemen. I think we're really, really good. But their skill talent, oh my goodness, it's really impressive. It's really impressive. I think if a couple of those teams above them take them lightly, they're gonna be in a dogfight. They're gonna be in a dogfight. I love what Coach McKee and his staff are doing. Really impressive work in getting those guys ready. And they're one of those. I hate to use the term, but I think they're a sleeper team. I think they're coached well. We've had Coach Vereen, the defensive coordinator, on the show before. They do a great job of scheming them up and putting players in positions to be successful. And that's a program on the rise, man. They're a program on the rise. West Meck, I love West Meck, man. I love Coach Beatty and what those guys are doing over there. They are so tight knit over there. The culture is awesome. The culture is awesome with that program. I only have them at 6 because I don't know who their quarterback is going to be. That's the only thing that has them where they are for me. If they have a quarterback in the fold, they will move up, in my opinion. I don't know if you guys remember or not last year. They had Chambers really struggling for most of that game when they played them last year. Really, really good defensively. We know, the young man, B.D. Waddell, the fifth, at linebacker is picking up a ton of offers now. They've got some other kids that I really like. Mark Foster is one of the leading tacklers in the state, coming back from the outside linebacker position. Jeremy Black at receiver is back over there. Really fast slot kid. I mean, he might be the fastest kid around. It's incredible. But if they find a quarterback, that's a team to watch, man, because they've got good, experienced guys that have been through the wars. They've been through them together, and some of those guys now are juniors and seniors. And you watch out the next couple years. Hopewell, and I say this all the time, Coach Gentry, great job. He knows how to build programs. Those guys work hard, in the weight room. He's got some talented guys. We'll talk about a couple of them in just a second. But it's building. It's hard to build in this league because, it's probably the toughest conference in the state. It's probably the toughest conference in the state overall. And, if, for example, if you put Hopewell in the SOMEC, I think they're in the middle of the pack. I really do. I really do. But when you got so many good programs in this same conference, that's why they are where they are. But they almost upset West Charlotte last year. That game went to overtime before West Charlotte was able to pull that out. So kind of like what I was saying with North Meck, if someone takes them lightly, we know Coach Gentry can coach, along with his staff. They're a team that can really sneak up on you and give you some fits. And then Harding coming into this league from the SOMEC. Yes, they moved into 3A, but you went from the frying pan into the fire. And I love Coach Stone. He's an awesome guy if you don't know him. But it's going to take a little bit of time to kind of rebuild Harding up. And they got a couple talented guys we're going to talk about here in just a second. But overall, you guys got any thoughts here with the ranking or prediction?
No, just about what I expected. Although I might switch. I think somebody put up another the top 5. I might put, depending on how offense goes, I might put West Charlotte at 3 and Mallard Creek at 4.
Okay.
But that's
I mean,
just me.
I can see it. You know, I mean, all these teams, you know, have their strengths, and you know, I think all of them have something that you can easily pinpoint and say, if they do this, then they can move here. You know,
Right.
I don't think there's a what you would say a dominant team on the list, because each team has a really strong strength, and then the other side, you know, what can it be that will put them over the top? Kenneth, you want anything to add?
Nah, Pep, I think you're pretty close, man.
I'll take pretty close. All right, let's highlight some kids here. All right, for Huff, I could have gone 100 ways to put on the screen, but James Nesta, committed to Oklahoma, dominant edge player. He also plays baseball, and I think he's good enough to where he could be a legit two-sport college player. 6'4", 210. He's a pitcher in baseball, so that's really special right there. Special athlete. You know, when we covered him last year at the Huff Chambers game, I remember Coach Jenkins, we were asked him, who should we talk to after the game? And we talked to Markel Quick. You know, he was the receiver that made the big punt return in that game for a touchdown, or kickoff return for a touchdown. And he said that James Nesta kid, you know, he's going to blow up and get so many offers. And that was before, you know, he obviously got all the attention he got. But I'll tell you, man, explosive player off the edge. Great quickness, really good technique in using his hands in pass rushing. He can play off blocks and make tackles in the run game. He sets the edge really well in the run game. I remember Chambers trying to get outside in the run game, and it just wasn't happening because they had the other kid, Brandon Palmer, on the other side. That was a really good player as well, so they were trying to run away from him and running at Nesta, and it just wasn't working out. So he's a special talented young man. A couple other guys for Huff. DB Samari Smoke Matthews. I've called him the best 2026 DB in the nation. You know, he got tried a lot last year when, you know, because teams will look at your roster and they'll say, they had a freshman at corner. I'm going to try him. I used to do it. Not call plays. And they quickly learned that, you know, he's not the one. He's not the one to try.
Right.
So then we go to the other side. And on the other side was Xavier McIntyre. And, you know, when he was matched up last year against Kevin Concepcion from Chambers, he really stood out to me. And I highlighted him after that game. And I said, this young man has made a name for himself. And he ended up committing recently to Coastal Carolina. And they got a really good player, man. Really, really great in man coverage, especially. I also got quarterback Trey Blakeney on the list. I mentioned him earlier. But they got a couple other kids. Egan Boyer at offensive line came to our camp a couple years ago and grew. And proud to say he's committed to, I believe it's Penn State. Get that size for you for Egan. I'll tell you, man. 6'8", 265. Yeah.
Wow.
He's a big time guy, man. 34.5-inch arm length, 80.5-inch wingspan. Incredible, man. Really, really technically sound. I think he trains with Coach Leggett and Finnish OL Academy. Mm-hmm. That's how they met. It was through our camp. And he's done a great job with him, obviously, going up there with Coach James Franklin. I mean, Huff has a lot of guys. I mentioned Jacob Dossie at receiver earlier. Anthony Walker At linebacker, I believe he's committed to James Madison. He's more the inside guy. Nesta's on the outside. Jaden Spearman, I believe he committed to Louisville. DB safety prospect. There's a lot of guys in the fold up there that's going to do some really good things. They have a couple different guys at the running back spot that can do some things with the ball in their hands. Be interesting to see how that shakes out. But I think there's opportunity, obviously, at receiver as well. A couple of guys graduated there. Osborne and Quick, who I mentioned earlier, moved on. So we'll see who steps up and takes those roles. But really talented team, as always, with the Huskies. For Chambers, DB Rondell Carter, oh my gosh. I wrote about them on Prep Red Zone, and I really started digging in, to some of these guys that have committed on the defensive side of football. They're secondary guys, man. They are so good. Coach Akers coaches their DBs, and he's done an amazing job with teaching them fundamentally on all of the things DBs need to do well: closing on the ball, tackling in space, discipline in zone coverage, man coverage technique. Rondell Carter he committed to Coastal. I think they got a steal, man. That kid is really, really impressive on film, man. He does everything you would want from a DB. He can play corner or safety equally well. I mean, he's an awesome, awesome player. Some other guys from Chambers I want to highlight. Arion Concepcion, he is the brother of Kevin Concepcion, who committed to play at NC State. Really, really good speed. He throwing the ball in the quick screen game. He has the ability to make a move and take it the distance. Good hands. You can throw him the deep ball as well. 5'10", 170. He's a 2025 kid. And then one I always love to highlight, because I love seeing him at camps, is defensive lineman Jaden Meeks. He can play defensive tackle, or he can slide out and play defensive end. I think Chambers plays him more on the inside on their defense. 6'1", 225. Really, really great get off. Excellent footwork in making pass rush moves off the line. His quickness into a gap in the run game disrupts offensive line's blocking scheme. I mean, he's a really, really impressive player. 2024 kid. I think he's got one offer right now. He's a really, really important player for those guys. I think linebacker Alik Hart is going to step in to play one of those linebacker spots, especially with Jordan Thompson moving on to graduation. I think he went to Middle Tennessee State. I expect him to, kind of play a big role as the next guy in that linebacker chain that Chambers seems to have going over the past few years. Jeremiah Blaylock on the offensive line, really, really big, strong kid. Expect him to lead the charge, from that perspective. But yeah, they've got guys, man. Tyran Evans, young kid, 6'3", 2026 kid, already getting offers. He could be the next big thing, literally, from Chambers. 6'3", 170. Literally looks like yesterday he was at Alabama. Tells you about what you need to know about that kid. He's got an offer from Virginia Tech, Florida, James Madison, and Charlotte. Really, really good player, man. And he's got a few more years. I'm telling you, people in Charlotte, man, I don't know if they realize how much talent is in this area. I really don't know if they realize how blessed we are. I see your comments, guys. I'll get to those in just a second. Mallard Creek, wide receiver Benjamin Black, really good player. I believe he's committed to. Make sure I get this right. Yep, he committed to Rutgers. 6'1", 185. 2024 player. He runs track, really great speed. He's got a 4.36 40 per his Twitter. All-American track runner. So, hey, Coach Washington, you know how impressive that is.
Absolutely.
You know, they just don't hand those things out. Also, 4.0 GPA. You know, he's got the ability to obviously catch the ball, go get it down the field. They've thrown quick screen to him. He's got good agility to make things happen with the ball in his hands. And he's also a really good blocker in the run game. I think you love to see that, really, from those big-time receiving guys. So he'll be a big, important part of that Mallard Creek attack. A couple other guys I want to highlight from Mallard Creek. Quarterback Evan Rambert. I expect him to be the man this year. He came to our HBCU showcase in the spring and won the longest throw challenge for quarterbacks. I think it was 72 yards in the air. I mean, when he threw it, you know how things happen sometimes, like in a game, we had that big hit and everybody kind of goes, ooh, and then everything gets quiet. That's how it was when that ball came out. Everybody was just like, oh, wow. And you're just watching it just go and go and go. He's got a big-time arm. Big-time arm. He's going to be a really good one. And then Umar Rockhead, I've wrote about the past couple years. I first saw him 2 years ago at a VTO camp. It felt like he was going to be a really big-time left tackle recruit. He's committed to Charlotte. That's a good get for Coach Pogge and those guys over there. 6'5", 265 pounds, 3.3 GPA. Really great feet, great athleticism. I think he's a prototypical pass blocking left tackle prospect. He can also play some defensive line and help out over there for Mallard Creek. But that's a good get for Charlotte for sure. And they got a couple other guys. Botis Manuel was one of the top DBs at that HBCU Carolina Showcase. He'll be a factor in the defensive secondary. Tyreek Brown at the linebacker spot will be an important player for Mallard Creek. They got some guys. They got several guys on the offensive side of the ball that can run the football. I like Curtis Clark. Really, really good speed guy. He gets into space. You know, some dynamic things can happen. Tyreek Brown, just mentioned, has an offer from Campbell. 6'1", 210. He's a 2024 kid. Would be an important piece for those guys, as I said. A lot of talent at Mallard Creek. A lot of talent for those guys in the Mavericks. West Charlotte, Jaden Smith. He's another one of those kids. When I first saw him, I couldn't believe that he didn't have any recruiting attention. Really, really dynamic guy off the edge, man. His first step is one of the best that I've ever seen from a pass rushing perspective. He committed to Michigan. I mean, when you look at his film, man, it's just, I did a highlight just for him when I went and covered a scrimmage last year up at J.M. Robinson they were playing in. And several times you see him explode off the edge, make plays in the backfield. Coach Rose, who was the defensive coordinator at the time, did a great job in putting him in twist stunts and confusing the blocking schemes to free him up. But I think this year, as a senior, he's really going to, kind of show his leadership and really do a great job in helping lead that West Charlotte defense, who we think already is exceptionally talented. A couple other guys from West Charlotte we want to talk about. Linebacker Julian Carmichael. Really probably the best pass coverage linebacker that I've seen in a long time on the high school level. I mean, 6 foot 210. He had multiple interceptions last year, dropping back, playing zone coverage in the middle of the field. Really good hands, good ball skills. I think they may use him some on offense this year because he's that good catching the football and doing things with it in his hands. He tackles really well in space. He can shed blocks, an interior run game, come downhill, really recognizes and diagnoses well from the middle linebacker spot. He does have some D1 offers. I'm going to highlight those here if I can get to him. He's got a lot of love on his Twitter here. But anyway, he's going to be a very important key piece for a really strong defense. Miami of Ohio is one of his offers. I thought he was under-recruited. I'm glad he's starting to get the love that he deserves for sure. He's got a D1 offer from Marshall, Charlotte, and James Madison. Really, really good player. Offensive lineman Fennell Marshall, I think is really, really strong. He's a part of a veteran offensive line returning for West Charlotte. Whenever you talk about what they want to do from an offensive standpoint, they're going to run the football no matter what they have offensively. That's going to be the first thing a Coach Sam Griner team's going to do. He's 6'5", around 300 pounds, interior offensive lineman on the next level, plays center and guard. He can move well in space, at that size. He can obviously be a road grader, good strength in the run game. And I think he's starting to pick up some recruiting attention as well. I think he just got an offer. Yep, he got his second D1 offer from Gardner Webb. His first one was from Campbell. So some in-state D1 love for him. I think he'll continue to pick up more recruiting attention. Some more guys from West Charlotte. We mentioned KD Smith earlier at the quarterback spot. He's a dual threat kid. He's got some D1 attention from a recruiting standpoint. They have a guy at corner, Pee Wee Jones, who did not play last year, but he looks really good. He's starting to get some recruiting attention as well. And then they've got a defensive tackle. I think his name is Jalen Carter. I think 6'3", 290. Oh, my gosh. I saw this kid up close, man. Once college coaches really get some film on him, he's really good. He's really good, man. And then they got some young kids as well that are going to make an impact, I feel like. I think Davion Jones, he's a 27 kid, so he's a freshman coming in. Really dynamic, man. He's already making some incredible highlight catches. I know it's 7-on-7, but still. It just shows his athleticism, 6'1", 160, receiver and DB. And they got some other, kids that are coming in the 27 class that are going to be really impressive.
Hey, Pep, can I mention, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I want to mention DeQuinder Williams, big-time playmaker. Q Williams. I mean, I'm going to tell you something. Q is one of the best players in the state. He has 17 offers. Kid could fit the run. I'm telling you, he's a multi-talented kid. He can fit the run. He can get back in coverage. He can cover well. He's good in press situations. He's good off the ball. And he's also dynamic on offense, too. If he's utilized on offense, he can definitely be a threat on offense, a return game. But that kid's phenomenal. Sammy, you got you one over there in West Charlotte. He's a dog. Yeah,
he was going to be the one I ended on, but thank you.
My bad.
No, you're good. No. Trust me, I need a break. It's a lot of talented kids, man. A lot of talented kids, on all these teams. For North Mecklenburg, the defensive lineman Charles House, he is really, really talented. He's picked up a couple of SEC offers. I know Auburn was one of them. Kenneth, he came to our showcase, right? The HBCU? Yeah. Yeah, sure did. He's a 2025 kid. I want to make sure he got to get his offers right. So he's got an offer from Louisville recently, James Madison, Miami, Michigan, Florida, what's that? Connecticut, Virginia Tech. Let's see. He's visited some other Power 5 schools.
I
Charlotte.
believe he had a South Carolina offer whenever he came to the showcase. That was his first offer.
Yeah. So 6'5", 275. I'm telling you, man.
6'5", 275. Good God. Gracious.
I'm telling you, he's legitimate, man. He's legitimate. It's impressive. It's really impressive, man. Just his explosion off the ball. The way he uses his hands, sheds blocks, and obviously at that size, he uses it to his advantage well. Really, really talented young man. Also for North Mech, wide receiver Sadat Grant. I talked about him a couple times. We did an interview with him in the offseason, and of course, when I visited North Mech earlier this year, he was one of the kids that I interviewed. 2025 kid, 6'1", 175 at the receiver spot. He can go up and high point the football really well. Got really good speed. He's strong at the point of attack. I think he has the ability to have a breakout season this year for sure. He's got ACC interest from a recruiting standpoint. I think he's got an offer from Charlotte. Yes, that was his first offer. But as people have said, Charlotte's offered a lot of kids, but I'm glad they're doing that. But that's a whole nother topic. He's a talented young man for sure. Offensive lineman Anthony Cook. I want to highlight him because North Mech lost a couple guys that I thought were really good up front. And Walters and Olasimbo. Cook was a freshman and was able to start on varsity at the offensive line spot. Probably the toughest thing to do in high school football because of the difference of strength and in knowledge, from the lines of scrimmage. He's going to be a big key for that North Mech offense to operate in the way they want to operate. North Mech has a ton of kids we can recognize. Kelson Tate is a really dynamic player with the football in his hands from a slot receiver spot and also kind of a special teams player. I think they'll do some different things with him on offense where they move him around and be creative to let him shine a little bit. The young man that was at our summer showcase, I believe it was Haley at linebacker, picked up an offer right after the showcase. He's a strong inside linebacker prospect. I think he's 2025 kid. There's a lot of talent, a lot of young talent at North Mech. We've highlighted a lot of them through interviews, and deservedly so. Wes Mecklenburg, we talked about B.D. Waddell earlier at linebacker. He's also going to help out at running back. I'm so happy for this young man. We've always felt like he was a really great player. And I kept telling him to, just be patient with his recruiting, and it's starting to pay off for sure. He's picked up 9 offers here. A lot of them recent. North Carolina Central, Pembroke, Lenore Rhine, Allen, Tuskegee, Western Carolina, just to name a few. He's going to be a leader for those guys. As a linebacker, he can go sideline to sideline. As a running back, he sees the holes really well, uses his linebacker ability to help counter on the offensive side of football. And it just seems like he just doesn't get tired on the football field.
I was going to say he held his own doing DB drills at the camp too.
Yep.
So, just showing his athleticism to even be able to, not every linebacker can do that, going one-on-one with receivers, that easily. So, just an observation, just throwing it out there.
No, you're exactly right. Exactly right. It just takes a special ability to do something like that. Um, Also for West Meck, we have linebacker Mark Foster, who I mentioned earlier, one of the leading returning tacklers in the state, along with wide receiver Jeremy Black, dynamic speed threat with the football in his hands. Coach Washington, do you have anyone else from West Meck that you want to highlight? I know you're kind of close
Yeah,
with a couple of those guys.
yeah, we scrimmaged a couple of those guys. I think the ones you pretty much touched up on, BD Waddell, we did a 7-on-7 with him. And I got a kid, like you said earlier, Pep. I'm a track coach too. It's one of my kids that run a 10-6. So, and I'm talking about laser 10-6, not the
Ooh,
everybody run 4.3s, 4.4. This kid's a legit blazer. BD ran with him stride for stride. We sent him up the street. BD ran with him stride for stride. I stopped Big BD. I said, dude, that's not normal. That kid is really, really fast. He's actually a multi-time state champion for our relay. So it's like he running with that kid, man. He was phenomenal. I think BD's the guy there. Also, I know they got some questions at quarterback. Like I told Big BD, put BD at quarterback. He their best player.
You can do everything else.
He can do everything else. Put your best player up quarterback if you ain't got no answer. But I think you touched up on everybody. A phenomenal group, coaching staff. I could tell the commitment with the staff. With BD over there, they got a family environment. We actually went down to Charleston and stayed with them for 3 days at James Island. So I got a chance to see up close and personal what they got, those coaches' dedication is. Actually, after everyone went to sleep, we went in there, my staff and their staff, and they was breaking down the Vance and or Chambers and West Met game from last year. So we was able to break that film down with them. But you touched up on everybody.
Awesome. Good stuff, man. Yeah, Tim Pride is a good call right here. David Leggett. Yeah, he is a good player. I interviewed him when I visited West Meck in the spring. That's a good call on him right there. Hopewell, offensive lineman Jackson Curley. He's a 6'6" kid, 270 pounds. He's only a junior. I think this is another one that, I'm sure that he's on a lot of lists from a recruiting perspective, just to see how he develops and how his film looks as the start of at the start of the season. 2025 kid. Also for Hopewell, they got a couple other kids that I like. This kid came to our camp, linebacker Josue Flaramond. Matter of fact, he just got an offer today from North Carolina Wesleyan. He also holds an offer from Livingstone. 6 foot, 230 pounds. These kids are so smart, man. 3.95 GPA. He's a hard worker. He's going to be a big key to that Hopewell defense this upcoming season. Also for Hopewell, put him down as an athlete, but he's a receiver and a safety. Joseph Johnson, his brother Ed Johnson, plays quarterback. Joseph was an all-conference player last year. I've seen him up close before. He's really, really athletic, man. Does a great job in high pointing the football. He can run away from people in the receiving game. Really strong hands. Impressive player. 6'1", 185. Honor roll student as well. So really, really good kids right there for Hopewell. And then finally for Harding, defensive end Cameron Brown. He is a really good looking, another one of those edge guys, man. Really good player. It's around 6'4", I believe. Little over 200 pounds. I laugh because, people will say that certain schools don't have talent. Every school has talent, man. Every single school has talent. And Harding is no different. A couple other guys for Harding. We got AJ Jenkins, who I've interviewed before in high. 6 foot, 170 athlete. I think he does special things with the football in his hands. I think his future may be on offense, but he can also play defense, man. We saw him last year when we covered the Berry game. Make a couple plays defensively, interceptions, forced fumbles, big hits. The kid's just not scared. He's got the dog attitude that you want, and he just picked up his first offer from Johnson C. Smith. So congratulations to AJ for that. And they also have big lineman Barack Fuller, excuse me. He'll play offensive line and defensive line, 6'3", 300 pounds. He's a road grader. He gets his hands on you. You know, it can be good night real fast. I expect him to kind of be a run stuffer in the defensive line game. He'll be a big piece on the lines of scrimmage for the Rams this season. Woo! Man, I'm tired. That was a lot of kids, man. That was a lot of kids. We still got a good number of viewers here watching too. We appreciate, your dedication and allowing us to get through all those kids for sure. You may be wondering what's coming up on next week's show. Next week, we'll have the CMS Best to Last rankings introduction. That's where we rank, or I rank, all the CMS best teams, or all the CMS teams from best to last, top to bottom. We'll introduce what we call the Dirty Dozen rankings, which is kind of an area rankings of all the schools that we cover on a regular basis. Friday Night Fowler.
Yes, sir.
Rankings. Top 10 in all classifications will be coming out next week. We had several counties say, why don't you rank us? So we're going to rank Rowan, Stanley, and Iredell counties. Upstate South Carolina rankings will do those schools listed right there. We do a ranking with those guys every year. And that's what we got coming next week. So
no Gaffney, bro.
Well, I kept it the York and Lancaster counties, but
okay, gotcha. Okay, never mind. My bad.
Those Gaffney guys get really emotional.
They do. We got a story about that, but we'll leave that alone. For now.
We sure do, man. All right, so tonight our Slime Time host has left, so we're gonna end with best of the comments. And there's a lot of comments. Starting here with Chat Administrator. Of course you got to do them, man. You got to do them, man. Every year, we do something with Iredell County. Chat Administrator has to give us his own rankings. So, yeah, please do those. Mr. Melton, you missed a lot, man. We've been on since 7:30.
Yeah.
Hey, tell me something, Pep.
Yeah.
Tell me something. Is West Charlotte going back to their home stadium this year?
They have a brand new stadium, and I think they are playing on campus this year. I know it was a big issue last year, but yeah, they'll be on campus this year.
Okay, get some of that old West Charlotte back.
Yeah, it's good for them. That's the Hardigan me talking. I'm sorry. Carlos Funderburk. What's up, Carlos? Jameson Funderburk, rising junior, 6', 210, starting running back for Huff. Yeah, he's a player, man. He's a player. I saw him come up through JV. Yeah, he's really gonna be a good important piece, for them offensively. Let's see here. Tim Pride says Chambers will light up the scoreboard, average 30 points easily. Woo.
Wow.
All right, Tim
Another
Pride.
spicy take. We got a lot of spicy takes tonight, man. I would love to see it. I would love to see that, man. I would love to see some spicy wings in front of me. That's what I'd love to see. Don't get Washington going, man.
Don't get me going on the wing.
Oh, man.
By the way, Coach Washington, we was discussing earlier. Is Corvian Community, are they in our conference now, or was that just a game? They're in our conference now?
Yeah, they moved to our conference.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Because that's who Carver Homecoming is against, is them, so.
Oh, y'all play them at their place?
Yeah. No. Carver's Homecoming.
Okay, gotcha. That's
Yeah.
a pretty good game.
Okay.
Corrigan got a good program.
Okay.
Alert One Film says you haven't seen the Honey Badger yet at East Mac. 44640. You want to tell us who the Honey Badger is? I'd love to know.
And please tell me if he runs track, and I need to know his track time.
That's a big
There you go.
Putting that name on there.
Look. I'm telling you, if you don't run a 10.5 in track, you ain't running track wherever you at. I know the track coach over there well. You gotta be 10.5 or better to be a 4.4 kid.
There it is.
Big shout out to Coach D Hawk at Corvian Community. What's up, Coach? If you're watching.
Excuse me. Still getting over this cold, man. Let's see here. Bombo. I do a podcast with the Bombo. Just checking in. This will be my preseason Bible. Whoa. Great work. Well, that's a first. Never been called a Bible before, but appreciate that. Let's see here. Karen Belk with a historical reference. Dwight Clark of San Francisco was out of Garinger long ago.
You know what, Ms. Belk, I just found it out a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I found it out a couple weeks ago. I was like, wow, I didn't know that. That's what's up, though.
Yep.
Absolutely. Keisha says, Rocky River on the come up this year. Love to see it. I love Coach Fernandez and those guys. They're really good to us. We're having the CFI Classic Jamboree there. Make sure you buy your tickets on CharlotteFootballInsiders.com. Cheap plug there, only $5. Let's see here. There's a lot here. Good gracious. The Independence family did not enjoy them being at number 2. Karen Belk again, they lost an awesome player and leader in Josh Isaiah. Yeah, he was awesome. He was awesome. Comes from a good family, man. We wish the best to Josh. I interviewed him a couple different times throughout his career. LJ Jones, so glad this show is back. We're glad to be back. You know, I heard the other show that allegedly exists is coming back too.
What show?
What show?
Not
Wayne,
sure.
what show?
Yeah.
You know, I heard a rumor that they're coming back, but there's certain comments. We'll have a show meeting after this because
a staff meeting. Okay.
Yeah, I think they're asking for some smoke, and I don't back away from that. I've tried to educate people over the years that you are the one. It's not me. You pushed me to these places.
I am what I am, man.
Hey, Brandon, in honor of that, we got to have some smoke wings.
Oh, I'm with it.
That's right, smoked.
I will never turn them down, man, at all.
All next week, all smoked wings, because we want all the smoke, baby.
Sounds good to me.
All right, so Joe Hughes, since you're asking for it, man, we'll do it. I can host it. I can host Slime Time here. Let's see if we got any more new comments.
I ain't got no slime time tonight, bro.
What?
I got one. I can't wait.
I ain't got no.
You said you were gonna be ready.
Hey,
you can't abstain from Slime Time.
First rule of CFI, man, you can't opt out of Slime Time, man. You think of something, man. Ain't no opting out. Slime Time ain't optional. Come on, man.
Okay, I got it. I got it.
There you go.
Somebody, your barber, whoever. Slime somebody done something.
It might be basic, but I got one.
Hey, that's fine, man.
Oh man. Coach Mars from West Charlotte mentioned Elijah Littlejohn. Yes, I wrote about him on Prep Red Zone. He picked up a Michigan offer as a freshman. Really good size kid. He might be the next one. He might be the next one from Beatty's Ford Road. Reggie Daniel, last comment. Appreciate you coming out, giving our boys a platform yesterday. Always, because of that guy.
Wait, hold on. Wait. Hey, Pat.
Can you
Hey.
tell it's 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
All right, well, that was best of the comments. So now we're going to go to it. It's going to be slime time. Oh, see, now I'm losing it.
Uh-oh.
I'm losing it. There we go. It's going to be slime time now. This is why I don't host it. It's not my segment. But slime time is going to be brought to you by yours truly. And then we're going to go to producer. Who you sliming on tonight?
I think I'm gonna slime a billionaire, Mr. Elon Musk, for doing this silly thing with Twitter where he wants to change the name to like X or some crap like that. I don't know what tweets will be called, Zeets or something weird. It's just weird to be seeing somebody just so rich that they want to buy something that's established and do it well, and make every attempt they can to run it in the ground. I don't understand it, but it didn't need a name change. It was already established. Then X, that's really weird. When you log on to X, I don't know. It just seems weird, man. So big, that just shows you. I don't care how rich you are, you can get slime. And I'm done.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand. Twitter is so big. It's so well known. Everybody knows what it is. I don't know why it needs a brand change. It's not like they did something crazy that, people need to kind of scrub it clean. So I agree with you. Yeah, Elon, come on, man. Twitter's been huge for us. So, hopefully it stay the way it is. Friday Night Fowler. He's slamming on tonight, brother.
As I was putting up these posts these past couple of days on the page, I noticed some of these fan bases, man. Some of these fan bases got to be realistic and understanding, man. You're not gonna always be on top. You know what I mean? Just like everything else in life, you're gonna have to go through some a couple down years or whatnot, man. And some of these fan bases are unrealistic. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm slamming on the night. Some of these fan bases, y'all got to calm y'all expectations down. Real talk. And I'm done.
Since the beginning of time, fans have been unrealistic. I mean, there are plenty of times where we could, slime, fans. I'm sure all over social media, because I see a ton of notifications, people want to slime me for the things I said tonight. But it's all right, man. It's a free world. You slime who you want to. But I agree. Some people don't realize that you can't win every game, and as former coach, there are times that I wanted to slime some parents.
Oh man, them be the worst.
Maybe in the off season we can have a show talking about the times we wanted to, slime some fans. But now's not that time because it's late. Robert Washington, head coach extraordinaire. Who you sliming tonight, brother?
You know what? Brandon took my slime because I was gonna go in Elon Musk, but since he mentioned he brought up slime time, I got slime Joe Hughes with the Gaston Gazette. Let me tell you something. Joe messed up my coaching record. He came out with all the top coaches and their records. Joe, no, I don't know my record because I don't care about my record, right? But I only cared about my record when he posted the record. And then he got it wrong. I had to call Joe this morning. He got it right, though. He did. He got it right. But I had to slime Joe for messing up a coaching record that I don't care nothing about, but I only cared when other people cared. Thank you.
Come on, Joe. We were just there. We were all there together, fellowshipping. And then you gonna do that, man. Come on, Joe. You asked for slime time, so you literally asked for this. God almighty. That darn Joe Hughes, man. All right, so I'm gonna slime Uber Eats. I think I slimed them before, but I swear, every time, I have a lot to do, I get busy, you order Uber Eats because it's convenient. And yes, you pay these exorbitant fees for your food. But the last 2 times I've ordered Uber Eats, they have forgotten something. And, the first time they made it right, they gave me a sizable discount or refund, I should say. Second time, these fools said, okay, submit it and we'll review what you submitted and we'll consider doing something. And I got an email saying they gave me $5 back. $5? What is that, man? Y'all, you pay $60, $70 on Uber Eats. $5 ain't nothing. So I'm done with Uber Eats. I'm just gonna have to suck it up and make more time to make nutritional decisions. All right, so that's who's left.
Hey,
everybody couldn't survive the marathon.
Yeah, we riding this out. We riding with you. Hey, I got to put in overtime too.
Gosh.
I can't use all my PTO up like that, so I got to put in a little overtime.
All right, so next week we kind of went over what we're gonna have. Some of you, I know you're watching and waiting on the show to end so you can watch the playback. So now we're gonna end the show. On behalf of everybody, this is Pep Man Matt Barr signing off. Thank you for watching Football Focus Weekly, the best high school football show there is, despite what other people may say. Don't be fooled.
Ain't nobody saying that. Hit in. Nobody says that.
Good night, everybody. See you next week.